Welcome back to The Rustic Wife. I'm Alana. Well, it's Sunday and I have made myself a chore list. Well, I made this yesterday and I did a few things on it yesterday, but I want to continue with this today and I thought I'd bring you along. We have quite a few things to do in the garden. I need to pick some currants, I've got some weeding to do, and I've got to thin some carrots out there. So we'll head out now and get started. So the first on my list, I have to fill up the bird feeders and the bird bath. It's really hot out today, it's 31 degrees Celsius, so I'm sure they'll appreciate that cool water. You gonna help? Hey, you guys hot? So now that I've got the bird feeders and the bird bath filled, I'm just going to check on the birds and see their water situation. They've been drinking a lot because it's been hot, so we'll fill those up. And I'm filling up the dog's pool right now. Our boys are spoiled. Is that good? Come on. Go in your pool. Ow. Ow. You? Is that fun? So the meat birds are getting bigger. They're ready to go next week. Getting kind of plump. Just gonna give them some fresh water here. Is that fun? Next on my list is I want to collect some chive seeds. I let the blossoms go to seed and I'm just going to go collect some of those before I cut the chives down. Here you can see that the chive blossom has dried out, and if you look really close you can see the seeds in there. So I'm just going to bend these little flowers over a bowl and shake the seeds out. So once I've collected the seeds, I'm going to cut the plant down, and then hopefully I'll have another batch of chives. I don't need a lot of seed, but because I have a nice bunch here, but it's just nice to have some just in case. So I'm just going to head up and put these chive seeds into a little envelope, mark them, put the date on them, and then I'll bring my shears back down and level off those chives. So usually I'll just leave these to dry on the counter for a couple of days to make sure they're totally dry before I put them in an envelope or a jar. But since they've been out there so long, they're quite dry. So I'm just going to put them here. And there we go. Got some chive seeds for next year. There we go. Give it a little haircut, and we'll put these in the compost pile. And then that is another little chore checked off the list. So we have our tomatoes here, and we need them another layer of string added today. And how we trellis up our tomatoes is either some people call it a basket weave, some people call it a Florida weave, and what we do is we have stakes pounded in to the ground every 2 tomatoes, and you see our tomato plants are about 3 feet apart. It'd probably be better if we had another stake in between, like so maybe one for every tomato. But anyway, what we've done is we've put the stakes in, and then when the tomatoes are small, use this. We've got this tomato twine. So this is the tomato twine that we have. It comes in that box and it just loops on your belt. Handy to have there. And this box was $9. We got it from a company called Dubois in Quebec, and I'll leave the link below for it. But I think this amount of twine we've used 3 seasons now, I think. So it's really worth it. We use it for other things too. So we're just going to show you how we do the next layer because the tomatoes are getting bigger. You can see there's 3 layers of twine holding the tomatoes up, but it needs to be staked up more. So we just made a loop, put it over top of the stake. You can see this is the 4th layer of twine. Just going to hold up the tomato plant and weave that twine around this way and then back around on that side of the plant. And then make a loop to hold it tight onto the stake again and continue weaving all the way down. Just keep doing the same process. And it keeps it fairly tight so that the weight of the tomato won't break the string or kind of flop it off to the side. Then when it gets to the end, he's going to loop it around the stake again, keeping it tight. And then make his way back down the row the opposite direction, which creates a little pocket for the tomato to be in between these 2 rows of tomato twine, and it holds it up nicely. Now some people choose to snip off the suckers. We always just leave ours. I should get the suckers off the bottom so that they don't touch the ground and introduce disease if they touch the wet ground. So I'll get doing that. I just haven't done it yet. And then when you come to the end, just loop it around and tie it off so that it's nice and tight. What's that knot called?
It's called I don't know what the hell it is.
So eventually, as the tomatoes grow, we'll just keep adding another layer of string, and then they'll be up to here, and we'll have strings all the way up the stakes, and then we'll just have a nice little corridor of tomatoes that we don't have to fight with. Big tomato jungle. So all the tomatoes are tied up so far today, and we'll be having to do it again in a few days when they grow a little bit taller. So that chore can be checked off the list. Okay, next on my list, I have to deal with my herb garden. It's an absolute fright, and it's really been neglected. So I need to deal with this because I can't deal with it any longer. The chamomile needs to be cut back. The rest of the herbs need to be cut back too. And I need to pull weeds because it looks terrible. So I'm going to work on that. Okay, look at this frightful mess. All of the chamomile's gone to seed. Just a sea of deadness. Got lots of weeds. Everything's growing into each other. Clary sage has gone to seed. All of the oregano has. It looks very pretty though. Lemon balm has gone to seed. And then I have Roman chamomile over here. I'm just going to pull that out, clip that right back down. The tarragon at the end needs to be cut back. I've already cut that back once. So we'll clean this up here. I'm going to have a lot for the compost pile. I just disrupted this little toad out of my garden here. So trying to get him to go back in. What I have done so far in my herb garden. And I'm going to plant some cilantro, some more basil, and dill here. I usually plant the basil and cilantro way too early, and then it's bolted and gone to seed by the time I have my tomatoes and peppers ready for salsa and things like that. So I've cleaned out this area here, and I'm going to pull out the clary sage, and then I'm going to cut the rest of the herbs back, and then it should be nice and tidy, and they'll come back hopefully with a vengeance. So I am boiling hot, and I'm going to take my daughter into town to get some ice cream, and I think I'm going to get some too. It's too hot right now. So I'll just take a little break and then come back to my list. I'm back, and I am working on that herb garden. I've got a wheelbarrow load that I've got to take to the compost pile, and then just a bit of trimming, and then I'm done that job. Everything's done here in the garden. Everything over here got a haircut, so lemon balm, some tarragon, I've got oregano, and behind that is some thyme, and then I've got some garlic chives, rosemary, and I forget what this is, marjoram maybe? I can't remember. And then sage, a few little weak looking basil plants, but I'll be planting some cilantro and basil and some dill in here. If it doesn't rain, I'm going to plant those herbs tomorrow, because now next on my list I have to go harvest my garlic. So here's my garlic, quite pitiful. I just don't have good luck with my garlic. I've had some sort of rot in the past. I put it in this garden just to keep it out of the main one, just in case. But again, it got onion maggot up top. Usually that affects the bulb, but I don't know. I don't know what was going on. So we'll see. We'll get some garlic anyway, hopefully. Yeah, they're kind of small. They're very tiny, but so that's what I've got so far. They're all looking pretty good. Hi, Otis. What are you doing? They're all looking pretty good, small, but they don't seem to be damaged from the onion maggot from before. But I think the soil has played a big role in how small they are. Just because I'll show you when I bring a bulb up, the soil that's attached, it's like a brick. So this is clay here, and it's awful. It's probably the prize one so far. See, this is how they come out. So it's really difficult to grow if you've got a clay weight around you. The garlic is all harvested, and I didn't do too badly. Again, small, but there's a few that were all right size. So I'll just take those to the garage, and I will let them dry. It's supposed to rain tonight, so I won't leave them out to dry. I'll take them to the garage, and then once they're dry, I'll store them. So next I have to, in this garden, I've got to thin these squash out. I should have done it before now, but I didn't. Now the problem is we have chicken wire down here. We put chicken wire down so the chickens couldn't get into it. Now I've got to clip a hole around the stalk where the chicken wire is after I thin them out. So just don't want the chicken wire to strangle the stalk as it gets bigger. So what I'll do is I'll thin these first, and then I'll make room for the stalk by clipping the chicken wire. So you can see on our squash plants here, we've got a white powdery substance, and that is because of the cucumber beetles. We tried neem oil, but that did nothing. It didn't work. It actually just burnt the leaves, even though we put the neem oil on in the morning, and it just didn't stop the cucumber beetles. So we went with our diatomaceous earth like we've used before, and there's still some in here, but they're not getting attacked as badly. I just saw some actually. Cucumber beetles are brutal because they will annihilate your entire plant by eating the leaves. The larvae will feed on the root, and you'll lose your plant. And if that's not bad enough, they will, they could possibly give your plant a bacterial wilt disease. So there's kind of like a triple whammy with those bugs, and they're awful. They're everywhere. So, oh, there's one right there. Right there. Yellow and black stripe. So there I've got the squash and pumpkins. I've got them thinned out every couple of feet, and hopefully they'll thrive, providing the cucumber beetles can be kept under control. So fingers crossed about that. So I'm just gonna go for supper right now, and luckily my father-in-law sent us one of his homemade curries we could have, which is nice. And then I'm gonna come back out, and I've got some currants to pick. So I'm all done my supper, and I was gonna pick currants. I've got my bucket with me, but I forgot that the carrots need to be thinned out. So I will work on that first, and if there's enough time, I will pick currants. We have 2 rows of carrots here. We planted those later. We wanted them for storage, and I think we planted those June 24th, I think. So we will let those go until, I think we harvested them, our carrots, last year in October. So I don't like thinning carrots or any vegetable because I feel like I'm killing the little seedling or the little plant, but it's necessary because we want our carrots to be a nice size. We want them to be long and straight, and we don't want them twisting around each other, which can happen if you don't thin them out. So I'm going to do these 1 seedling every 2 inches. Some people keep these little carrot seedlings for salad, or you can dry them. I don't. I just put them in the compost or give them to the chickens. They taste too much like parsley to me, and I really hate parsley, so I just give those to the chickens or the compost. I've got 1 row done, and I think I did do them about 1 carrot seedling at every, well, this is about 1 inch and this one's 2 inches, so I just did either 1 or 2 inches apart. I wasn't too fussy about it, so I'm going to work on this row now. So I got the 2 rows finished, and I have seedlings for the chickens. I'll take those down, and then I'll get started picking the currants. Want some? Here. This poor little chicken is hurt. We have 2 currant bushes. This one's got some sort of a disease on it, but the currants look good. This little one here, the chickens always get the lower ones, but they're nice size. So we'll start picking on this one here. So these are red currants, and they're quite tart. They make fabulous jelly. I like to mix them with raspberry and these red currants and make a really nice jelly. It's one of my favorites. So I don't like to pick the shrub clean because I like to leave some for the birds too. So some for us, some for the birds. So this is what I have so far. It's a good start. So I know of another currant bush down the road from our place, and I will go pick there shortly. We also have to pick raspberries and wild black raspberries, so lots of picking to do. But I'll take these ones in and I'll clean them up and put them in the freezer, and then when I have enough for jelly, I'll make a batch. So it's about 8 o'clock, and I'm done everything on my list that I'm going to get done tonight. Tomorrow is a new day, and I'll get back to that list. There's only a few things to do, like weeding some of the gardens, the perennial beds, and clipping back some old blooms, and hopefully we can get some new ones. Anyway, I'm going to take the dogs for a bit of a walk before I head in, and I'm glad you joined me today. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you again next time. What are you doing?